All right, let's do this. And gentlemen, welcome back to Spirit Radio. I'm Haas,
I'm Brent.
and we are missing somebody. We're missing the third.
Yeah.
We're missing the third member of HBS. By the way, I'm going to make that stick. I know he's going to hate that one, especially because he's not here. Happy birthday, Sajin. We know you're not around today, but the show must go on. Come back strong next week. Anyway, let's talk about today's episode. And today's title is Hurt by Scrum. How do you like this title, Brett?
I mean, I've been hurt by you and Scrum, and now I've been hurt by Sajin for not being here today. So I feel a lot of hurt. Let's do this.
That this is all about war stories today, right? War stories of Scrum.
Yeah.
We're not going to tell you how to do stand-ups today. We're not going to tell you how to do backlog refinement. We're not going to teach you any of this stuff. We're not here to teach you the mechanics. We're here to talk war stories. Those are my favorite part of any kind of show or podcast. So it's how we got those battle scars from Agile and Scrum. For me personally, I said it in my first episode, I was someone who just didn't know where I was going in life, whether project manager, some sort of manager. I just wanted to be taken seriously. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just chasing a paycheck after paycheck and idle and just to be recognized. And it wasn't until someone came into my life, and this is like something out of a movie, where someone just said, I see the potential in you, and I'm going to give you that chance. I didn't want to waste my opportunity. But my first war story and my first score came when I left that company and I had to go somewhere. And I was all pumped up and ready, like, hey, I'm a Scrum Master. I'm going to come in and hero of the day. That is not the case. I tell you what, in my previous company, I had somebody that was a leader that was backing me up. In this one, I had a leader who asked me, what is the industry standard for a velocity? What is the industry standard for a capacity? I don't know how to answer that.
I can remember being a very new junior project manager, baby Scrum Master. For me, we had a bad play, if you will. It was very disruptive, but this person would come in, yell at everyone, tell us how terrible we are, completely distract the meetings. We would end up turning this meeting into a 2-hour, how terrible we are session. And then everybody would walk away from that and completely figure out what in the world we were supposed to do. And that went on for months. And it was really difficult to reel that in. And as a baby Scrum Master, just kind of, and that was one of my bosses, I was like, okay, well, it took a lot of time and really maturing, I think, in my own self and doing some soul search. It took some maturing for us as a team. We had to embrace the conflict a little bit, but also understand that there was the right time and place, and we had to compartmentalize when those conflicts were appropriate. So war stories, I can remember walking out of there, just throwing my project plan on the ground and hard. At the time I smoked cigarettes, I'd go through about 2 packs of them and think, oh my gosh, this is the worst job ever.
You and I probably discovered Scrum around the same time. If you didn't smoke when you started doing Scrum, you probably will right away. I know I did. I don't smoke anymore either, but I know I was smoking a lot during those days.
I made a lot of friends at the smoking section of that particular office building. I'd get out, 3 other developers like, oh my God. And then we found some camaraderie. And I think that, for a performing team, and, you go through those Tuckman stages and it's real. I remember at the baby Scrum Master, I didn't understand the Tuckman stages. I was ignorantly marching my orders out there and reading as much as I could about understanding, being the junior person in the room, trying to get people to trust what I'm trying to do and understand it. I mean, we had to go through the whole rigmarole. And by the end of it, we actually had a decent Scrum. I mean, as a team, we were starting to actually deliver incremental value in a regular, but in the beginning, man, it was a 24-hour job.
It's one thing to read what you're supposed to do. It's another thing to actually implement it.
I sat through the 2-day class. I've got a certificate.
Exactly. Also, you bring up a lot of good points. I felt that when I was a Scrum Master. I think a lot of it, and this is just a personal opinion, and again, this is the real shit that nobody wants to talk about. I think a lot of it is egos. I'll be the first one to admit that it was my ego that was driving me to be so aggressive and assertive In my mind, I was someone that was hired to come in and fix Scrum. How dare you challenge me? That was my ego speaking. Now, that wasn't coming out of my mouth, but that's what I wanted to say.
I had a leader one time and he was like, look, I don't know you till I get drunk with you. And I thought, okay. And so we ended up spending the entire evening over napkins, literally the napkin conversation, and a couple of beers, and really co-developing our implementation tactic from an agile perspective. But by the end of it, by the next day, we had a cohesive agreement between us of how we were going to do things. And then we had marching orders. And instead of just going in with that ignorant baby Scrum Master idealism, you have to realize that the people they need to co-create this idea with you to get on board with it with you. And in that perfect example, I realized that I was approaching this ignorantly, and then I needed to actually walk in with open arms and say, guys, I've got some ideas. How would you like to do this together? How would you like to do this together?
That's
and
great.
it worked.
I mean, that's when I got to that point. Instead of just having, again, my ego, you probably got to it a lot quicker than I have. I know that I'm a stubborn old fool from Jersey. So, okay, let's not talk about war stories anymore. Let's talk about what can we do in situations like that. I want to bring up one thing that had happened with somebody that I worked with a while ago. Love this young lady so much. She became a Scrum Master. She's just someone who needed to know where a direction in life, and she wanted to change something in her career. Asked me about being a Scrum Master, and I told her exactly what I love about Agile, what I love about Scrum, and the challenges I've had and how I overcame them. She took that. Can I just say, and this brings such joy to my heart, she became the Scrum Master that I wish I wanted to be. That's almost, to me, that's the biggest compliment you can give to someone, not only the person that gave you the advice, but the person that took the advice and ran with it. So one of the things that she did to maintain that relationship or build that relationship with folks, you know, how there's a retrospective every 2 weeks. Do you know what she did in one of her first retrospectives? She contacted a local animal shelter and she brought in some dogs that needed some fostering. And they just had a moment, like just for an hour, 30 minutes. I forgot what. This is how she built relationships. You said something that was really interesting regarding the Tuckman stages, but also, what did you do during your smoke breaks? You socialized with the people that you were struggling with, and that helped. Which later to me, because I've been through the same thing, later to me showed that I could just come in there and start pounding on people's head and say, do this, do this, do this. They don't know me. They don't trust me. I need to build relationships with these people. So again, we go back to what we said in the last episode. It's about people. There's a human element. There's a psychological safety element that people are not taking into consideration when you implement any kind of framework. It doesn't have to be agile. It could be agile. It could be Scrum. It could be waterfall. It could be ITIL. It doesn't matter. You are not going to get anybody on your side if you don't communicate and connect with the people that you need their help to make this successful. That's the one thing that a lot of leaders don't understand. You need your people. You need your workers. You need your frontline soldiers to be bought in, and they need you back to be also bought in. If that doesn't work, if that relationship is not reciprocal, this will never work. Instead of coming with the attitude, I'm the subject matter expert, it's my pride that's making me talk right now. She came in and she let her guard down. There's a lot to be learned from a person like that. She brought in dogs into the office.
That's brilliant.
Of course, the challenges with that when we all had to work remotely, and some of us still do. You already talked about it in the last episode. What creative ways do you do if you're just trying to meet people for the first time and let them know, hey, I'm on your side. I'm here because I want you to succeed. What do you do, Brett?
You know, that it's different every time, right? Like, I think that you have to, and Sajin touched on this. Happy birthday again, Sajin. Look, I think that on the topic of people, we have to celebrate the people in some way. And people they're looking for ways to be autonomous. They're looking for ways to be creative. They're looking for ways to be appreciated. And, you know, in every moving part happening inside from implementation or an agile implementation has meaning and a role. And so A few things that we've done is we've called out MVPs oftentimes. Hey, we see you. The example with the when I dressed like a shark, it became a theme. Everybody started doing shark everything. Like they started naming their teams after sharks. They started giving out Sharky awards like it was at the Oscars. And before long, people started to realize, hey, I'm being seen. And the work that I'm attributing to this, it's more than just a paycheck. It is a team that we are in together. And so I think that helped quite a bit, is that we see you, we understand what you're doing every single day, and we appreciate you. And it could go to leadership, it could go to a tester, it could go to developer, it could go to anything. And it encouraged people, not from a bonus perspective, just to be seen, just to be recognized that, look, I care about my job and I care about what I'm doing and I'm passionate about it and I'm a team player. And that behavior became contagious. It became almost that people wanted to vote for other people. So it became contagious that they were all giving attaboys to each other. And so I think it's not just about establishing trust with the agile coach. It's about creating a cohesive team that loves and trusts each other and almost feels like a family. And to this day, many of those different implementations I've been on, I still am privileged and honored enough to call a lot of those people very close friends, yourself included. We're still done in the trenches together. We've done these things together. And if you called me tomorrow and said, we're going to go do this agile implementation, I'd be like, hell yeah, this is going to be great. It's going to be awesome because we've established.
For the record, Brent never wore a shark anything or anything like that whenever we went. This happened either before me or when I wasn't available. Every opportunity we had to present something, he never wore anything funny. He didn't even wear the Hawaiian shirt that he's wearing right now. I just want to say that. And every time we presented, it was just, good luck, buddy. Go do your thing. But to be fair, the situation didn't present itself with that opportunity. We want to hear from you. If you have done anything similar, if you have any ideas, please put them in the comment below. Message us, tell us. We want to read them to you. We want to see what other creative ideas do you have. We had someone who brought dogs. Brent likes to wear shark suits. I mean, not actual shark suit, not like a mobster, right? Like that, not like a gangster from the 1920s. No, he put on an actual, I think, Brent, we're going to need a picture or some sort of proof of that one day. But he did put on a full-on shark costume. I mean, he doesn't not wear these glasses all the time, you guys. He sometimes wears them. I sometimes wear them too. So there's no reason for a grown man my age and his age to wear these kind of glasses. But we put them on because we want you to be comfortable. One other thing that I actually like to do, I see it more as just bare in my soul. I like to talk about my personal connection with Agile and Scrum. I like to talk about my personal journey, how I got here. And I like to talk about my kids. I like to talk about my family. Who doesn't relate to family? Who doesn't relate to kids? Who doesn't relate to food? I love cooking. I love to cook. I know Brent loves to cook. I know that's one of the things that we actually connected on when we first met. You know, he was talking about making Thanksgiving dinner. I was like, oh, shit, does not meet the standards of my Thanksgiving dinner. So things like that. So get creative. And I will say, this might be, again, controversial. Being a Scrum Master is a talent, and it does require the proper personality. If you are someone who's an introvert, Scrum Master is probably not for you. But that's just my personal opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Again, tell us in the comments. People want to be talked to. People want to be engaged. If I can be even more honest, people want to be entertained.
I want to pull on a string of something that has been an industry thing that I've ran into as well. Have you ever ran into where people don't appreciate or recognize the Scrum Master role as a real role that is helpful to the team?
Oh, absolutely. When you hear people saying, well, a Scrum Master can handle three things, because what else are they doing other than facilitating? They're not running reports. They're not building something. They're not designing anything. Yeah. I had this with a company where I was working, where I was first introduced to Scrum. I still remember my leaders from there, and I still stay in contact with them. The CEO of that company is somebody that I consider to be a great mentor and a great friend. And he made a comment that stuck with me that I still use till today. He said, ambiguity is the enemy of progress. He said it, and I learned it from him, and I used it ever since. We used to have quarterly bonuses, and the scale is from 1 to 5. And I've always given myself a 4 or a 5. I never given myself a 3 or lower. So I've always given myself a 4 and a 5. And he would argue that, no, you're a 3 because you delivered by the end of the quarter like you're supposed to. That's your expected work. To which I responded and said, you just don't know what I had to go through to get you that delivered by the date that you expect. And then he made a comment right following that. And he said, oh, okay. So the 5 is for reining in the dragon. And I said, yes, reining in the dragon. And that's what Scrum Masters do. That's what Agile coaches do. That's what RTEs do. God help me. RTEs, they rein in a field or whatever you call a school of dragons.
I would agree. Oftentimes I'm on some team building where we actually are writing down what the team's going to look like. And we have to argue that this is a real role and there's a reason. And then it comes down to what, the when, and how, right? And the when is really held by that Scrum Master. We will be able to get there by this time. What we're going to do is held by the product team. How we're going to do it is held by the development or the technology team. And this is mostly in software, but it can be adapted anywhere. But if you don't have the win piece to that, then you're just going to be developing nilly-willy. You're going to be doing all, and there's some plays and some project manager skill sets that fall into being a good Scrum Master and RTE to be able to actually develop some predictability in your team and mature them. But to your point, you have to rein that in to be able to hit that win. And without it, people they don't recognize that the win is very important.
Okay, I'm going to have to take these glasses. I can't see anything anymore.
Look, I think that people are going to watch this and hopefully they can relate to some of it. I had the question come up not too long ago, why are you doing this? And I think that the important thing is to get the conversation going. And so we're really looking forward to the comments and the examples and stuff. I'm here to learn as well as learn the experience of being on a podcast or radio or YouTube channel and, kind of make a fool of myself here and there, as well as, discuss these things. And so I want to point out that we are welcoming all of your comments. We are looking forward to your responses. Please come be a guest with us. Come wear goofy sunglasses. I probably got 7 more to wear with this. And with that, thank you again for participating and watching and bearing with us as we go into our horror stories of Scrum. And this is Dead Sprint Radio.
This was a lot of fun, man. Sajjan, again, sorry you missed it, buddy, but we're having way more fun celebrating your birthday with your friends and family. I'm a little insulted that we weren't invited.